Hello there, my name is Adam. I'm a 3D artist and illustrator, and today we're going to make a fantasy slash D&D isometric room. I almost said asymmetric, but that's different. Alright, first, you'll notice here that the hotkeys are there. Second, go to Edit, Preferences, go to Key Mapping, turn Tab for Pie menu, an extra shading pie menu, then go to Navigation, turn on Depth and Perspective on Auto. Next, go to Input, go to Emulate 3-button mouse, then go to Add-on, and search for Extra. Make sure your caps aren't on. Extra. Turn Add Mesh Extra Objects. There we go. Then search up Loop, turn that on, and that should be everything. Alright, go down here and save preferences. Alright, now we can get started. Do Shift A, reference image, so image reference, and then search to where Fantasy Voxel Room 4, or wherever it is. So let's click on this, make sure to uncheck Align to View, and load reference image. Click on it, rotate it in the x-axis 90. There we go. Then do GX and put it over there. And perfect. We have our little reference that we're going to be using. Now I know right now it doesn't look very fantasy-esque, but we are going to add a floating book here in the middle, a little fire pit with it. We're also going to add a few potions and things inside of this cabinet here that's made out of glass on the side. And these are going to be glowing crystals. As for this here, this won't have anything, it'll just be a crevice where the light can go into. And these will just be windows of whatever shape you'd like. So you can just have windows there. But let's get started. Let's do Edit, holding Tab. Select these three. Don't select these back ones. X, delete faces. And now we get the general shape of it. You can also scale this down if you want. I'll leave it at this scale and just, actually no, I'll scale this down a little bit. GX, put it next to this. And now we go to the wrench, modifier, and let's add a solidify modifier. And let's do even thickness and do 0.08 and see how that looks. That looks accurate, but let's do 9 instead. Perfect. There we go. 9 seems to be the exact thickness, mainly for this part here. We are going to add a little bit more detail by adding another floor on top of it, but in general, the main piece is as thick as that. Alright. Next, we have to add all the details. So, let's start by adding a few of these bricks here. But before we do any of that, click on this and apply. Add another modifier. Let's add a bevel modifier. Reduce it to 0.01. And there we go. We get like a slight bevel. In segments, put 3. There we go. And if you want, you can increase the segments. But for now, just right-click, Shade Smooth, and it should look good. Perfect. Now just click... Actually, don't apply the bevel modifier. Leave it as is for now. Alright, next, we're going to add these little, like, cupboards and stuff. Just a lot of the... What's it called? A lot of the furniture. So let's do Shift A, Mesh, Cube. Scale it down. And let's just start making the furniture itself. The first one we're going to make is this here. So you'll see that it has 4 round legs on the bottom. and it goes into like a shape that just goes across like that. We're going to add the legs later, but for now we need to make the main part of it with all its details. Now if you're curious how to add all these like rivets and nice detail, don't worry, we're going to add that right now. First, let's do edit on this, do Control R, and slice it right about there. Next, let's just do face selection, GZ, move this up to make it a square. Now let's select all the other faces. You can turn on X-ray for this. Select them like this. And you can just scale it down like this. Before you do anything, do Control R one more time. Add one right about here. And now we can start scaling everything down. So let's do the same thing again. Face selection, select these faces, and scale them down to about there. And we get the main shape. You can always scale it up slightly. But there, we get that shape. And this bottom bit, we can extend a little bit. So let's turn off X-ray if you want. Select this, GZ, move it down a little bit. Perfect. And now, what we can do is do Control R one more time and scroll up to get several little segments like this. There you go. Now we do face selection again, and let's select every in-between one. If you want, you can double click this. So just double click them right here on the edge. Perfect. And then just right click, extrude faces along normals, and you can make them go inwards. There we go. Perfect. Last but not least, select the edges. So do edge selection, double click these edges here, and do Control B to bevel them all. Scroll up to add a few more, and double click, and it should look something like that, to where it's very thin details, but not too thin. You can also add it to this, so just double click this, do Control B to bevel it, and bevel it like that. There you go. And that'll add like a smooth transition. Then what we're going to do is press I on these. So let's do edit first. Then let's do Control R on the top. So let's do Control R right here. There you go. Select the top. GZ. Control R again. Double click. And do it one more time. Control R. There you go. And one more time on this side here, but do it very close. And now, all you have to do is do face selection. Double click these. Not that face, just this face here. And right click, or just scale it up. There you go. Scale it up like that. You can do edge selection. So like this. And do GZ to move it down. So we can get the little like curve there. If you want, you can scale these down a little bit. So let me just do face selection. Select all these top ones. You can press 1 to get the exact thing. There we go. Scale this down to about here. GZ. There you go. Turn off X-ray. Face selection. Select these faces here. There we go. Actually, don't select that back one. Deselect it. And now just press I. And make it go inwards. Press I again. And you'll get something that looks like this. Hold Shift if you want to make it a little smoother. And click there. Next, all we have to do is right click, extrude faces along normals. And make them go inwards. Just a teensy bit. Not too much, eh? There we go. Perfect. And then we just have to add these like tiny details. It's nothing too crazy. There seems to be like a little handle here, and that's pretty much it. On top of it, we're going to put a book, a little like pedestal looking thing with a crystal on top of it. And we're going to be using a tool with that. But for now, we have the basic shape of the main thing we were making here. For the last part, let's do Shift A, Mesh, and let's do a cylinder, scale that down, do GZ. And we're going to be adding a lot of detail to this, don't worry. Press 1 on your numpad, G, put it right about here, and make sure you get the size right. I'll scale it up a little bit, because this seems to be the size. Scale it in the Z-axis, GZ, do Shift D, constrain it to the X-axis, put it on this side as well. There you go. Select both, press 3, do GY, and holding Shift on this front part. There you go. Let's add all the details. So technically we should just delete this one and add all the detail to this one first. Let's do Edit, Control R. Let's add a few rings here, Control R here. Make it go downwards. Edge selection, scale it down, Control R, Control R. Double click there, double click there. Scale this up, scale this one up, do Control R on this, face selection, select the edge here, scale that up to add like a little bulge, and for this last part just select these faces, right click, extrude faces along normals, and make them go like that. Perfect. And that adds like a little bit of detail to the legs as well. Let's do Shift A, Mesh, and let's just grab a cube, scale that down to about there, press 3, G, put it right about here, scale it down even more, G, scale it in the Z-axis to about there, scale it in the Z-axis a little more, and try to get it to the same size as that. Scale it in the Y-axis, scale it in the X-axis till it intersects there. Do Shift D, X, and put it in the same spot. Let's just press 1, GX, and put it right there. Edit, Control R, right there. Scroll up, Control R one more time. There we go. Do face selection, select these, right click, extrude faces along normals, and make it to about there. Deselect everything, and done. That's all the detail you need to add. After that, just select everything, do Control J on this bottom part, press 7, add a modifier. Well, first select this, do Control A, and all transforms. Now do 7, add a modifier, and let's use a mirror modifier. There we go. And instead of the X-axis, we're going to do it in the Y-axis. There we go. Perfect. Click Apply, and it should look something like this. After that, do Edit, do A, P, and do by loose parts. That should separate everything so that we can get these two like this. Do Control J, select all of the legs, Control J, select these, do 7, Shift D, rotate and then do 90. Control Z, do Shift D, rotate 90. There we go.